Have you ever stood before someone who once made you question your own reality, who weighed down your heart with sweet words laced with manipulation, who drained your energy yet left behind an emptiness you couldn't quite name, someone who wore a mask so meticulously crafted that it didn't just deceive you, it convinced even themselves that it was who they truly were? I understand that pain. The confusion, the heartbreak, and those long nights spent wondering if you were the only one who saw the darkness behind that perfect smile. As a psychologist who has spent years studying narcissism, let me tell you this: you are not alone, and more importantly, you are not powerless, no matter how much they've tried to make you believe you are. But what if I told you there was a key, a single question, gentle yet sharp as a blade, capable of cracking the proud armor they've spent a lifetime building? Not an angry accusation, not a bitter confrontation, but a piercing ray of truth that strikes at their deepest fear, that without admiration, without the approving gaze of others, they are nothing at all. A question powerful enough to force them to face the void within, the very emptiness they've been running from their entire lives. You may be thinking, is that really possible? Can I actually do that after everything they've done to me? And here to tell you, yes, you can. And I'm not here as a distant voice, but as a companion who understands the scars narcissism leaves behind. Now, you might be wondering, what is that question? How can a few simple words pierce the thick wall a narcissist builds around themselves? Don't worry, I won't leave you hanging in curiosity. Let's go deeper into the nature of narcissism, how it operates, what fuels it, and most importantly, how one right question can become the key to reclaiming your power. From here, we won't just explore theories, we'll uncover real, practical steps you can take. Steps that will help you not only understand, but take action. Have you ever felt that chilling emptiness the moment you realize that the person standing before you isn't truly present, isn't truly seeing you, but is merely performing a role, carefully scripted to serve only themselves? A narcissist doesn't live as their authentic self. They don't dare confront the cracks, the shadows, the vulnerable corners of their soul. Instead, they cloak themselves in a dazzling mask, a meticulously carved persona meant to convince others that it is all they are. But don't mistake their performance for intimacy or connection. It's not. It is a tool of control, a web spun to trap you in the orbit of admiration they crave, like an addict starves for their next fix. As a psychologist, I've seen your tears, those invisible scars they leave behind as they drain your life force, only to turn away as if you never existed. I understand. And I am here to pull back the curtain to help you see the raw, unfiltered truth they never want you to read. Look closely at how they operate. Every word, every gesture, every smile is calculated, not to share, but to manipulate. They don't say, "I'm sorry," because they feel remorse. They say it because they know it will soften you, make you stay, make you keep feeding the illusion they depend on to survive. They don't compliment you because they appreciate you. They praise you so that you feel indebted, so that you unconsciously hand over the attention they treat as their oxygen. I once had a client who described how the narcissist in her life could cry uncontrollably in front of her, only to coldly walk past her hours later when her comfort was no longer needed. That wasn't genuine emotion, it was a script. A prop in a self-directed play in which you are cast as the unwilling audience. Your pain is not their concern. It only matters if it serves to uphold their illusion of glory. And here's what narcissists will never admit, not even to themselves. They don't truly live. They merely exist within a fragile sequence of illusions, trembling at the thought of being unmasked. They have no inner core, no true self to cling to when the spotlight fades. Your admiration, your attention is what keeps them upright. Take that away and they crumble like a sandcastle beneath the tide. I know you felt small, invisible in their presence. I know you've asked yourself if you were the problem, if you were somehow not good enough to keep them happy. But the truth is, no one can fill the black hole within them. Not you, not anyone. They don't love you. They love the reflection of themselves in your eyes. And when you stop providing that reflection, they will move on to the next mirror, not because you lack value, but because they cannot survive without an audience. But this is the truth I want you to hold on to. Their indifference is not strength, it is their greatest weakness. They depend on you more than you think. Not out of love, but out of their desperate need to sustain the illusion. When you stop clapping, when you stop admiring, they don't just lose you, they lose themselves. I've worked with survivors just like you, people who have learned to step off the stage to reclaim their voice. You are not a prop in someone else's play. You are a human being with a value far beyond what they can ever comprehend. Learn to recognize their tactics, the sudden kindness when they need you, the cold silence when you are no longer useful, and use that awareness as your armor. They may never reflect, but you can. They may never love unconditionally, but you can learn to love yourself. That is the strength they will never possess, and it is your key to rising from the ashes they tried to leave you in. Have you ever considered asking a single piercing question, sharp as a blade, yet simple enough to cut through the layers of arrogance a narcissist wraps themselves in? What would you do if you could never impress anyone again? Just a few words. Yet they strike at the core of the illusion they've built their life upon, like a cold wind rushing through a hollow house without foundation. As a psychologist who has spent years dissecting the minds of narcissists, I can tell you, this isn't just a question. It's a demolition charge designed to shatter everything they've constructed to conceal the bare truth, that they are nothing without the admiration of others. I know the pain you've endured, the days you blamed yourself for not being enough, the nights you wondered why you couldn't make them happy. But hear me now, this question is not about revenge. It's about liberation. It's about helping you realize that the one who hurt you was never as powerful as they pretended to be. Watch closely when you say those words aloud. They won't have a script ready, no charming smile, no manipulative phrase to redirect the spotlight. Why? Because this question leaves no room for distortion, no angle for blame shifting, no space for rewriting the narrative. It forces them to confront the void, the inner black hole they've spent their lives running from. I once witnessed a narcissist stammer, face pale, when confronted with this question during a therapy session. He couldn't respond, not because he wasn't intelligent, but because there was no answer to give, only an empty silence. They aren't prepared for this moment, because their entire existence relies on your attention, your applause, your focus. That one question strips it all away, revealing that without admiration, they don't know who they are. And that terrifies them more than any loss. And this is what you need to understand. Their dependency on illusion is their greatest vulnerability, and you can use that to protect yourself. They don't fear losing you as a person. They fear losing their own image reflected in your eyes. I've worked with survivors who watched their narcissist spiral into panic the moment they stopped reacting to the manipulation, not because of love lost, but because the narcissist could no longer bear not being the center of their world. That is the first truth I want you to hold on to. You are not weak in this story. You hold the power. Because you have the ability to walk away, to go silent, to stop applauding the performance. And when you do, they tremble. The second truth lies in self-awareness. The narcissist cannot face themselves, but you can. When you ask that question, you're not only challenging them, you're declaring that you are no longer a puppet in their performance. You are saying, I see you, and I'm no longer afraid of you. I've seen survivors reclaim their voice in these moments, not through shouting, not through arguments, but with a single question, powerful enough to make the mask crack. And the third truth is healing. When you understand that they live off illusions, you begin to realize that the pain they caused you was never about your inadequacy, it was about their emptiness. You no longer need to pour your light into a void. You can keep it for yourself, to rebuild what they tried to destroy. So ask the question, not to change them, but to free yourself. They won't have an answer, but you will. Who are you when you are no longer defined by them? You are stronger than they think, and I'm here to help you see that more clearly, day by day. Think about this. Every reaction you give, anger, tears, pleading, is fuel to them. They don't care how you feel. They only care that you keep dancing to the rhythm they control. But when you stop reacting the way they expect, when you no longer rush into arguments or beg for their approval, what happens? They lose their grip. I once had a client describe how the narcissist in her life spiraled into panic when she chose silence, instead of reacting to his provocations. Not because he cared about her, but because he didn't know what to do when the attention vanished. Their power doesn't come from inner strength. It comes from their ability to manipulate your emotions. Step out of their performance, and you'll watch them flail, desperate to pull you back in, because without you, they have nothing left to hold on to. Silence is not weakness, it is your sharpest weapon. When you stop seeking fairness from someone incapable of offering it, you dismantle the web of manipulation they've carefully spun around you. They want you to beg for validation. They want you to fight to be heard. But when you walk away, when you refuse to play their game, you send a clear message: I don't need your approval to know my worth. That is the first truth I want you to embrace. You don't need them to know who you are. The second is freedom. Every step away from their theater is a step toward healing the wounds they left behind. And the third is inner strength. You don't win by defeating them. You win by standing firm in yourself, unshaken by their tactics. I'm here to tell you that you are stronger than they ever imagined, and true victory begins the moment you choose yourself over the fight with them. Have you ever felt guilty for wanting to walk away from a narcissist, as if detaching yourself was somehow cold, unfeeling, or even an act of giving up? If so, I want you to pause right here and hear me. As a psychologist who's witnessed hundreds of people wrestle in the emotional quicksand narcissists create, detachment is not cruelty, it is courage. It is the moment you take back control over your emotions and peace of mind from someone who never valued them in the first place. I know your pain, the inner conflict between wanting to fix them and longing to be free. That feeling that walking away means betraying your values. But here's the truth I want you to hold close. You are not their savior. You are not their exposer. You are not their teacher, because they don't want to learn. And most likely, they never will. The only thing you need to do is see them clearly and boldly say no to the game they've trapped you in. Think about it this way. A narcissist is not a puzzle for you to solve, nor a project for you to rehabilitate. They are a vortex, pulling you in, exhausting you, and spitting you out when there's nothing left to take. I once worked with a client who spent years trying to help the narcissist in her life see his faults, only to realize that all her efforts were just more fuel for his inflated ego. You don't need to expose them. They are already exposed in the hollowness of their own being. They've just become experts at hiding behind the mask of admiration that you and others have unknowingly provided. To see them clearly doesn't mean you need to shout the truth in their face. It means you whisper the truth to yourself. This is not someone I can depend on, and I don't need to stay to prove it. Here's the first value I want you to hold tight: self-sovereignty. Detachment is how you declare that your emotions are no longer their hostage. You don't need their permission to feel peace. You choose it. The second is relief. When you stop trying to change them, you free yourself from a burden that was never yours to carry. They didn't fail to change because you failed. They can't change, and that's their problem, not yours. The third is clarity, seeing them for what they are, people who live on illusion, not truth. And with that clarity, you begin to set boundaries they can no longer cross. You no longer need to participate. You no longer need to wait for their awakening. You just need to walk away, not in bitterness, but with the quiet strength of someone who knows their worth, far exceeds what that person could ever comprehend. So, dear one, rise from the ashes they left behind, not to prove anything to them, but to affirm that you deserve a life free from manipulation, free from the prison of their illusion. I have seen people like you turn pain into power, not by fighting the narcissist, but by choosing themselves. Detachment is not the end, it is the beginning of freedom. It is the moment you take the wheel of your life, where peace is no longer something you beg from them, it is something you reclaim within yourself. They may never understand, but you don't need them to. You only need to know this: you are enough. And from this moment forward, you live for you, not for their performance. So walk away and let them face the emptiness of their own making. That, my friend, is the greatest victory. And you won't even have to say a word.